In my PhD work, which I finished last year, I looked at copying as a choreographic methodology. And I looked at that because copying is very much used in dance education. For those of you who had any dance class, you must know, like you look at the teacher and you just try to copy the movements that they do and to repeat them in the same way. So it's very much part of the learning process in most of the techniques that we've got. Nevertheless, when we move into the industry, this is a process that is stigmatized. So it's considered illegitimate, it's considered like illegal. So you cannot copy someone else's footsteps, let's say. You cannot copy someone else's work and present it as your own. Now, since the context that we are discussing has to do also with visual arts and maybe like other art forms, we can say that in visual arts and in music, that is something that has been taken from artists that work with copying, and we can think of remix and collage in visual arts, or remix in music. In dance, this is a bit more problematic because the form doesn't stay outside of the body, of the human body. Thus, we also don't have it's more difficult to annotate, to quote, as we do in texts, as authors do in text. And you say, here I say, and I quote, I open quotation marks, and I say something, I repeat. I copy, in a way, literally also copy something that has been already said, and based on that I go on. In dance, this is, it doesn't work in the same way, because it's not easy. I can still walk, but this doesn't mean that I copy someone else walking. I walk. So it's not like a movement doesn't have the same kind of authorship or copyrights, let's say, that we have in other forms. So I started looking at that, and maybe we can start with video, and while it plays I can keep talking, and it's fine. You're gonna get it from the beginning. There's not much to get, but I can keep talking on that. So maybe we just have the sound a bit, yeah. So this is a video work I did 2 years ago. Again, it is part of a research, so I don't necessarily present it as such, but together with the research itself. In this video we actually see 15 people, although we don't see them right now because 15 videos were made. The way that the video is made is that 15 videos are put together one on top of the other. So how did that happen? My starting point was a video from Yvonne Rainer, who is one of the most acclaimed performance and artist and dancer of the 60s. And this video I used was of her work 308, one of her most emblematic pieces. You can find it on YouTube. So I took that video, and based on that, I gave that video to a performer. All the people you see here are dancers, trained dancers. I gave it to one person, and I asked them to learn the choreography by watching it from the screen. So no one taught them this. They had the video, they had 3 hours long, up to 3 hours, and they had to learn the choreography in the studio and perform it. And then we recorded their performance, and their video was then given to the second person. So imagine a chain, one after the other, something like Chinese whispers game, or χαλασμένο τηλέφωνο, as we say in Greek. So the first person takes the video from the person before, and it goes on. Here, a similar process was followed in the editing of the video at the end, where every video is put on top of the other. Because of the many layers, we cannot see all 15 people, but maybe, I don't know how many you can see from down there. Eight, maybe 9, maybe you see shadows yeah, on the floor. So they all perform the same choreography in a way, but one after the other, being taught, not taught, they learned it one after the other. So it's a cumulative process. And this is also the way that the video happens. So it's kind of like bringing in this virtual space all these different times. And maybe we can see like differences, and the videos start together, all together, but obviously not all performers perform the sequence at the same exact time. They tried to perform it as it is, but of course it's very hard to learn a new choreography from a screen and also have a limited amount of time. Like as I said, it was 3 hours. Two of the dancers are also in the auditorium. Maybe they can share with us later part of the process, how it was like for them as well. This was in a studio in London, and yeah, so going back, maybe it's why maybe I started working. I'm asking myself questions that I think that you would have. Maybe you can ask questions later as well. I started working with Trio A of Yvonne Rainer primarily because it's a very emblematic piece of work, of dance history, but also because initially when that choreography was created, Yvonne was very known for the fact that Yvonne Rainer let it out to anyone who wanted to do this dance. So it was a dance that she said at the time, it can be performed by anyone. You don't need to be a trained dancer. You don't need to have a background in dance and have like trained in contemporary dance or ballet or anything. Anyone can do this dance. And this was quite liberating for the time, like to say that any person can perform this, can be a dancer in my work. But not only that, she also allowed anyone who wanted to perform it, which means that she didn't hold copyrights of that piece. So it was a work that anyone could take and say, okay, I will do Trio A. And that created a wave of Trio A interpretations, let's say, or translations, if we want to go back to the first presentation today by Elena. So many people would take this choreography and perform it again. And that was fine, till the moment that Yvonne Rainer, the author of the, saw a work, a piece that was performed by someone that she didn't recognize the piece. She said, like, this is not Trio A. Like, this is not right. Although it was her giving the right, she saw a version of it that she couldn't recognize the piece itself. And she said, that's it, I take the rights back. And from now on, if you want to perform this piece, you have to audition, you have to rehearse with her and learn the work from one of the custodians. There are 5 custodians around the world, and it's only them that have the right to teach the choreography. So it's not legitimate to learn it from the video, what I've done, for instance, and it's not legitimate to just take it and do it like without taking the right. So if I would say that if I was presenting this as Trio A, I would be legal here. The title of this work is Without Respect but with Love. And this is because I have auditioned actually myself for this. And I didn't pass the audition. And this is how it all started. So that was like 3 years ago in London, and not Yvonne Rainer, one of her custodians, Pat Catterson, was there, and she we were a group of dancers that we came together, we tried to learn the choreography, and then we learned it with her, together with her. And then she chose some of these people to perform Trio A in the tanks at Tate Modern in London. I was not one of those who were selected, and that was quite frustrating, I have to say. Mostly because I thought that what failed in me was the memory, was the detail. So it is an extremely detailed dance, although it might seem quite simple movement. Here it's extremely detailed, like the hand is not here, it's here. Like the knee is not this much bent, it's like this. So it's very precise dance, the way she wants to do it now. Anyway, despite the, I had already spent some time in order to learn this, so at least a week in order to audition. And I thought, okay, I didn't get to do the performance, but I know the work. I have some material. I'm going to work with it. I'm interested in this. I'm going to work with it. So, researching the work itself, I focused in the paradox that the actual work has in terms of time. So when it was initially created, as I said, in the 60s, it was a piece that was given to anyone to be performed, and this was also its power. It spread out. It became famous exactly because lots of people were performing it, were repeating it. So it created a kind of canon. The piece itself entered into, it became a canonized work. And what does it mean? It became an important work in dance history. It entered the canon of dance history, exactly because it was repeated and it got to be known. And of course also because Yvonne Rainer, together with Merce Cunningham and John Cage and other people of that era, had a flashlight. Like they were known in the scene, obviously, as well. So this piece, from being radical, became canonical, became an emblematic work. And once this happened, the author took the rights back. So, looking at being interested in this, in the author rights, and how copying is also part of this mechanism of making a work canonical, of this repetition, being canonical, and at the same time being a rapture, being able to be a rapture, I question this, how copying can also be a tool for canonization, but also whether it can be a tool for rapture of this canonization. And this is more or less what I try to do with this work. So I think I should stop here, since the video also stopped. And if there are any questions or comments, I'm happy. I think we have, before Natasha's, 1 minute. Yes.
My question is, the videos before the Liars, they were given to the dancers to compare what they received and what they done, with the mistakes or whatever, because nobody can learn in 3 hours any choreography.
Yes.
This has been done in order, if the dancers are here, to tell me what they find. They compare these whispers, lost Chinese whispers.
So Martha Pasakopoulou and Elena Kokoli were both, I don't know if you recognize them, they were both in this process. I don't know if you have any...
I'm not sure
what is the question?
Yeah, maybe I didn't follow exactly the question, but if I understood correctly, we had the video, and the duration of the work, of the actual work, is 10 minutes?
Less, is 6 something.
Yeah, 6 minutes or something like that. But of course, I don't know which number I was in the order, but let's say that was the 5th one. So it had already, the duration, it had already extended. The duration of the work had already extended. It was let's say, I don't know, 8 minutes and a half. And so we have 3 hours in total in the studio with Stella and with the video individually. So it was like Stella was working one-to-one with the dancers. And we had in total 3 hours to learn. Yeah.
The choreography. Between the two, the one that you saw and the other that you danced,
Yeah.
you saw the difference, you realized afterwards.
This is the first time I actually see the video, I think. But by watching the video, like as a general comment, I guess, yes, I do see the differences. Because as Stella said before, it is a very detailed choreography. And yes, like there are many differences, first of all, in the timing of the things. How long do you take to go down to the floor, or how long do you take in order to extend your arm? So even in the duration of the things, there are differences. Elena, do you want to say?
And on this, there is also, just to say on your comment, there are 2 versions of this work, 2 videos. I decided to show this one today. There is another one where you see the 15 videos, one after the other. But that's, because of time limits, I couldn't show both. But there is another one that exactly focuses on these differences between the videos. So there is another version as part of this research. Yeah.
I don't know if it's relevant, but I want to add to that. But because most of us, we were trained dancers and we sort of knew Trio A or knew a version of Trio A, the learning, it wasn't of Trio A, it was of a version of the person that had done it previously. So what we were doing was a process of learning, but also a process of unlearning what we knew. So that was the most difficult part, because we had the Trio A we knew, and then we had to adapt to the version that the previous person did, which was a Chinese whisper. So we had to unlearn and learn something else, which was the most difficult thing. Because we were copying the person, not Trio A, we were not copying Yvonne Rainer. I was copying Antje, for example. So that was the most difficult part. Yeah.
I want to add something. You comment about the prohibition, forbidden
Yes.
this in the era of digital art. It's no copyright, as you know. They are not virginity birth.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you do is new, is creation.
Mm-hmm.
This was a creation, new. You don't need to ask for permission, just not to mention.
Yes. This is one way. Yeah.
This is what happens with music, with dance, with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And for me it's good, this.
Yeah.
Help to the creation. And